Hello and welcome to Universally Direct. So, this is the first of a three-part series I want to do about my philosophy for raising my son. So, if you're a parent, great. If you're not a parent, no big deal because you could probably use to listen to this yourself. So, what it is, it's three principles that me and my son talk about, and he repeats to me every morning while I'm dropping him off at school. Right before he leaves me for the day. We always go over them. We always talk about his three principles for living like a good man. The first one is a man keeps things clean. And when I made these up, he was 3 years old. So I wanted to give him a sort of guideline for how to base and judge his own behavior that he could take with him for the rest of his life, no matter how old he got, no matter that he's not a kid anymore. He remembered his three principles that he lives by that are important to him. And so they needed to be really simple, something that a 3 year old could really grasp and understand, but that would translate into so many other areas. And I gave it a lot of thought. So the first one is a man keeps things clean. And of course, he's a little kid, he's a mess. So him cleaning up after himself is a big deal, and it helps to develop discipline. He cleans up after himself. We never, go to sleep with the house trashed. Um, but a man keeps things clean. It it's like a way to instill pride in a child, to always keep his hands clean, to always clear off his desk or his table or put his toys away and have things looking neat. It's a way that he can grasp that you've got to have pride in your belongings and you have to care about the way you're representing yourself. It's got to matter to you, your image, and the image you portray to others of who you are. So I definitely didn't want my son to grow up into a lazy man. And one of the things that's always kind of blown my mind, I never really understood, is why so many men are lazy. Like, they don't do anything for themselves. They want to be taken care of and pampered like a baby, like they want mommy for their whole life. And I always have valued being self sufficient. And I think that that's a character trait that's lacking in the world. I definitely notice it is not present in most of my peers. Most of the men I know, they really don't do much else, but if they just work, is at least one thing, you know. And maybe it's because I've always kind of been alone, never really been one on big on relationships, but I've always been able to take care of myself, and I've always made sure to do it because I cared about my stuff. It's got to matter. It's got to matter to you even when nobody's looking. That everything of yours is neat and organized and well kept, and that it's not too much hassle for you to just have things nice, have things looking good. It shouldn't be a big deal. And it's a real good way to stop from being lazy because you're always going to be busy messing with this or that. Um, Maybe I have OCD. I don't know. I'm real anal about my whole house, but I think it's one of the best things. I love it. I love the fact that I'm always keeping everything right. It makes me feel good, and it keeps me busy doing stuff. It was my grandfather actually that really imparted that onto me, because this is a man who, like, he'd go out back and cut the whole yard with scissors if he could. That's the kind of guy he was. Always, just always doing something, just out in the yard, out taking care of his home and keeping it perfect and pristine. Um, I can't tell you how much stuff we did that didn't need doing just to do it. So, maybe that's where it comes from, but it's something that I value in myself, like pretty much top three. That's why it's one of these three principles. And so a man keeps things clean is the first thing he tells me every day. And then we go on to the other ones, which, it's a man keeps things clean, a man never lies, and a man never loses control. And I'm going to have a whole episode on the second and the third because they warrant them as well. But a man keeps things clean, just so now you get it. It's just something simple to tell a little kid that starts programming in his thought process that, oh, I gotta fix this, I gotta fix this, I gotta fix this, and never allowing him to just leave everything in disarray, messy, unorganized, no care, no thought for it. You've got to be mindful. One of the best ways to stay out of trouble and to stop from acting like a fool is to be mindful of how you are coming off to others and how they're perceiving you. If you care about what someone else is thinking about you, you're going to be less likely to act stupid. It's simple stuff. It's for a kid. But, if you don't have kids, maybe you've never really thought of how much pride you have, or how much pride you take in your things or your surroundings, or just your representation of yourself overall. Maybe you start doing that. Or at least if you can't, if it's too late for you, tell your little ones. And, tell your little girls, I'm going to have my daughter when she's really talking back to me a lot. She's only 1.5 years old right now, so she's learning at a tremendous rate English, but she's still an infant. But I'm gonna have her telling me every single morning of her life, a woman keeps things clean, and it's not just for my son. Although as men, we really need to up the image and up the standard, because this is just the way it's been forever, is that the man just works and doesn't really do shit else. And that shouldn't be. It's got to change. We ought to be ashamed of that, because we ought to feel like we're not really a man, like we're still a boy, if we're still being taken care of like we were when we were boys. And yeah, hope my daughter will have the same pride in all of her belongings and her image as well. And because for a little girl, your image is extremely important. It's important to establish that before they even know what they're doing. Just caring about the way they're perceived, because it's hard out there for women. And yeah, I hope that I have as much success with my daughter as I've had with my son. It works. Every day we say these every single morning of his life. He says them out loud, and we talk about them, and we bounce them back, just because it can never be said enough that he's got to keep things clean. All right. Well, till next time, everybody. Universally Direct.